So Tracy, you are the speaker here. Let me share the presentation and then Tracy won't be front and center. Not that we don't want her to be. But... Okay, I'm gonna turn on the speaker. Here we go. All right, and I think we're recording. Yeah, so good morning, everybody. Actually, Tracy, you mute you and I'll keep me on loud. Okay. All right. Here we go. For some reason, we're getting feedback. I'm not sure why. Eric, is your computer turned on maybe?
No, I got that.
All right. Oh, we're good. We're good. All right. And go. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and happy Wednesday. My name is Ann Johnson, and I'll be the primary facilitator for this class. Although in the room today, they have two friends. Tracy Jackson is here from MnDOT, and I'll let her introduce herself shortly. And then Eric Johnson is also here. He has been facilitating the chat and making sure that if we have any technical glitches along the way, we have somebody over there to fix them. So we are reporting to you live from PE Services. Remember that these classes are offered virtually, but that you're always welcome to attend here. We think that that might offer up some additional opportunities for networking, and it's always good to meet people in person. I was saying before we actually got started this morning that we do have a class. Actually, we have two classes here scheduled for May 17th and 18th. They are classes where we expect to have some interaction and some role playing, so don't get nervous. And then afterwards, we'll have some networking and some fun. So on May 17th and 18th, you'll get more information about that shortly as we get the agenda together. But that will be held here at PE Services. I will send out the better directions if we're still under construction. We happen to be just on the south side of Southwest LRT, so they have one of the crossings closed off. But anyway, if you come on that day, we do have workbooks for everybody. We've been keeping them populated and printed. And so if you like keeping your things electronically, that's fine, but we do have hard copy workbooks for you as well. Today's class is on responding to a request for proposal. The materials that were sent out all referred to RFP, which was presumptuous on our part. Maybe some people don't know what that is. Well, today we're going to back up. We'll start from square one and we'll talk about what is an RFP and all the things that are part of it. Now, Tracy's here. I'm going to throw it over to her shortly. But I also want to warn you guys that I'd love it if after Tracy talks and I'll walk through and call on you independently, if you could just introduce yourselves and tell us the kind of company that you have and the kind of work you do. That would be really helpful to us. So with that, Tracy, I'm going to mute my computer and I'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Tracy Jackson. I'm the outreach coordinator at MnDOT's Office of Civil Rights. Welcome, everyone. This class, we're super excited. We've had requests for this, so it's really important to have that proposal ready to go and have that quality experience. And Ann and her team are going to walk us through that today. So I also want to, Ann mentioned upcoming classes and networking opportunities. If you haven't signed up already, I'm going to put a link in the chat where you're going to be able to sign up for those classes and networking sessions. Highly recommend going to those, and it will be in person. It's not so bad. I know we're a little spoiled because I was like, why did I say I was coming in person today? But I made it. It's fine. It is good to get out and get network with people. So that is going to be an opportunity. Also tomorrow, SADBOC Procurement Fair. It's the largest procurement fair in the state of Minnesota. I will also put that link in the chat. So it's a great way to promote your business. You have so many different contractors, Fortune 500s, government agencies. I'm going to be there. And I think you're going to be there. Jennifer is going to be there. So we definitely, it's a good place to be to network. So tomorrow we'll get everybody out. So you can still register. It's free. Hope to see you tomorrow.
Great. All right. Mute yourself. Yeah, I'm going to be there tomorrow, and it would be great if we could put some 3D bodies and faces to your names. Part of the contract that Eric and I are implementing allows for us to meet with you one-on-one. We've done that a few times, but it would just be great to touch base tomorrow. So the event tomorrow is up in Brooklyn Park or Brooklyn Center. It used to be called the Earl Brown Center. Now it's just at the southwest quadrant of Highway 100 and 694. Yeah, it's called the Heritage Center. So we will look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And please come up and introduce yourself. I would love to meet you in person. So now we're going to meet you online. Eric, I'm going to call on you first. And just ask that you just briefly introduce yourself and let us know the company that you own or you work for and the kind of work you do. So with that, Eric.
All right. My name is Eric Johnson. I work for Professional Engineering Services. I'm a field inspector by trade, but also an educator. I was an English teacher before I got into this inspection gig, and I've been working with Ann on these classes to try to bring some information to you as growing businesses. And I've had the pleasure of meeting with a number of you, and I just look forward to getting to meet more of you. So make some appointments, come on in. We're happy to help you.
Thanks, Eric. And you don't have to come on in either. We can certainly come to you, and we've had a couple meetings virtually. I should note that I am a licensed engineer. I started professional engineering services in 1995. I recently sold it to Jennifer Hildebrand, but I was so pleased to be selected to do this work and create this curriculum because it really allows me to share in a very efficient way all of the things that I learned growing my business. I started as just myself. I added my brother, Eric's my brother, and my other brother, Ted, and we grew the business to 30 people. So there's a lot of missteps along the way, and I hope to help you guys avoid them. So that's my introduction. All right, with that, let's go to Allison. Allison, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Allison Cummings with RS Engineering. We offer civil engineering services, road design, bridge design, traffic services. And I'm very excited to listen here and get some tips and information to fill the gaps.
Well, I'm excited to have you on, and I think you and I need to get together just so I can offload all my brain dump to you and tell you how to be successful.
That sounds great.
How to be less unsuccessful than me. All right, welcome, Allison. All right, Karen, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm actually Emily, Karen's assistant here at Access Resource. We are a CART captioning company, so we generate human-generated captions to anybody that would need them.
Well, that's fascinating. All right, welcome, Emily, not Karen. I will make sure to note that. Carol, welcome.
Good morning, I'm Carol Jewett, and my company is The Business Stage. We're an IT consulting company. I've been in the telecommunications field for the past 30 years, and we help large and small companies optimize their telecommunications inventories, infrastructure, billing, and also looking forward to learning some new tips and tricks.
Excellent, welcome. I can see some of the MnDOT people have joined. I'm going to have you introduce yourself at the end so we don't lose the flow here. All right, let's have Jasmine. Jasmine, can you introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jasmine Brett Stringer, and my business is Carpe Diem with Jasmine. We're in the professional services space. We offer professional training and public speaking services, as well as community engagement and internal narrative storytelling, communications, campaigns.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Jasmine, and welcome. It's good to have you. All right, let's move to Jennifer Hildebrand. Jennifer.
Good morning, all. This is Jennifer Hildebrand, and as Ann mentioned, fortunate enough to work with her and Eric here at PE Services. So welcome, and we're thrilled you're all here.
Thanks, Jennifer. All right, let's see. Mitchell, we spoke this morning. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us.
Yes, good morning, all. My name is Mitchell Davis, president of my M. Davis Consulting Company. I do work in technical assistance, and it ranges from procurement systems, contract development. We do facilitation and action planning using the Hugh Life system. And we also work in grant administration and management.
Excellent. Wow, you have a lot of diverse offerings. Welcome. Let's see. Nisha, welcome. I need you to unmute. Hopefully you're not having trouble with your phone. There you go.
Here we go. Good morning. My name is Danisha. My business is D-Law Notary and Consulting Services. I started off as a mobile notary and I've moved into like taxes and field inspections. So I'm kind of like all over the place. I have a lot of different trades. So just trying to narrow down really what I want to do.
Excellent. Well, that's great. Good for you. Valerie, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm also with the business stage, so I work with Carol. We're WeBank certified telecom management services, as you mentioned. I mainly do project management and data analytics for our customers. So happy to find out some tidbits from you guys.
Great. Now, I don't want to minimize my screen and go look at the registration. So are you and Carol in business together or do you collaborate?
We're in business together.
Okay, excellent. Welcome. I don't know who this is, but your name says Watchen, W-A-T-C-H-E-N. Who's that?
Yes, good morning. My name is Watchen Marshall. I work as a contracting navigator for Hennepin County. And my goal of attending the session here today is really to learn, as I'm fairly new to my role, is to learn some ways that we can inform some of our disparity reduction work that we're doing over at Hennepin County and helping small businesses to really get up to speed and better position them to respond to RFPs. So here for learning today.
Excellent. Welcome. And Watchen, do you work for Hennepin County or are you contracted by them?
I work for Hennepin County.
Okay, excellent. Well, welcome. It's great to have you. I look forward to meeting you. Let's see if we've got any other contractors on the line. Then I'm going to go to you, Lori, next. All right. Looks like our next person is Lori. Lori, welcome. Good to have you again.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thanks for doing a great job this morning, getting everybody pulled together and getting this rolling. And I have to tell you, I'm so excited to see all the professional technical services consultants that are on the meeting today. So for everyone to know, I'm Lori Ryan, and I work with MnDOT, and I'm dedicated as a liaison to MnDOT consultants and partners. So I'm happy to be here today to learn about the businesses and what they're interested in and what they're hearing from Ann and her great team. I just want to point out that they're a resource that have often made it known that in addition to these sessions they put on, that they're also a resource for you to tap into. But I also want you to know that I am as well. I will put my contact information in the chat, and if I can be of assistance to any of you businesses, please don't hesitate to reach out. And thank you for having me here today.
Yeah, thanks, Lori. You've provided us with a lot of help too. And so I appreciate that. Now I saw Fascia came in just as I was calling on Lori. So Fascia is a private business. Go ahead and introduce yourself, friend.
Hi, good morning. This is Fozia. I'm with Care Transportation and we do flatbed trucking. And I'm just looking to get into contracting with the state and the federal government. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and Fozia, you came here to our office one day. So that's how I met you. It's nice to have you back on.
Thank you.
All right. I think Matt's on from MnDOT. Matt McIntosh.
Hi, yeah, Matt McIntosh. I work with Tracy and other MnDOT people in here. Just excited to be here. Wanted to make sure we were represented here, but also excited to see kind of the other side of the RFP process. We see the proposals as they come in. So excited to be here.
Oh, good. And actually, Tracy and Matt, Lori and Adrian, who I'll introduce next, jump in. I mean, you guys are the experts because you're our client here. So I'd love to have you interrupt and add some insight as we talk through this. So lastly, Adrian Bond from MnDOT. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Hi, I'm Adrian Bond. I'm the Business and Program Development Team Manager here at MnDOT. So Matt and Tracy's team. We come up with trainings and small business development opportunities that we then offer to small businesses like this class here today. So I certainly welcome if there's any ideas or suggestions or things that you as small business owners are looking for by way of training or development, please don't hesitate to, you can either let Ann know or reach out to Tracy. I will put my contact information in the chat too. We're happy to take suggestions. So thank you all for joining us today, and back to you, Ann.
All right, welcome. Well, now we have just over an hour to talk through this. And please understand that we get it. This is not long enough to really talk through the whole thing. So as I said before, MnDOT has empowered us to meet with you independently. In my 40-year career, I know it's hard to believe, but in my 40-year career, I have mentored a lot of people. We've actually hired people at PE Services for the sole purpose of getting them up and running, and then they've gone and started their own company. So we have a lot of passion about that. So not, frankly, we'd do it if we weren't getting paid, but it's nice that MnDOT's going to pay us to come out and meet with you if you need it. Again, we can meet in a coffee shop. You can come here, we can come there, or we can meet virtually. So if you have questions, again, this is an introduction. This class is going to be different than the one that was offered by IMO last week. I attended that class. I found it very useful. I especially like the fact that they are going to offer up a review of the materials that people were asked to submit. But this class is stepping it back a little bit, and we're going to talk about what is an RFP? What are they looking for? How do you go about deciding if it's even something that is going to be worth your significant commitment to respond to? So with that, let's get started. Everybody should have gotten a workbook via email. If you don't have that, put it in the chat and Eric will quickly send you the workbook. There's 2 Word documents attached to it, and we're going to, just be inside those today and actually physically put in some information. Now I'm being challenged by MnDOT to make sure that we get evaluations in. So I thought, we have a template for an RFP. I will happily send that out to you after you send me your evaluation back. What do you think about that, Tracy? So later this morning, I have to actually teach this morning after this class, but later after 12 o'clock, I will send you the evaluation. And it's very easy. It's pretty subjective. We're looking for input and advice as to what would be helpful for you as small businesses. And then I'll send you back that template. It'll just be a simple Word document that you can use to get started to submit your next RFP. So let's go. Now we have just over an hour. All right. So what is an RFP? So a request for proposal is an agency or an owner. Now, I've been teaching a long time in this area. When I use the word owner, to me, that means MnDOT, but some people haven't made that leap yet. So when we say an owner's request or an owner's RFP, that could be anybody from a public agency like Hennepin County, Med Council, MnDOT, or it could be a private company too. And I want you guys to know that today we're going to really highlight RFPs from public agencies, but there's lots of private agencies or private companies that are sending out RFPs as well. Somebody like Walmart or Target, who have acres and acres of sites and pavements and drainage and employees. All of those are also owners that could be looking for help. And I think we could all probably, if I just, took a marker to the board, we could come up with some companies that we know one of their core values is helping small businesses and diversifying their client and their partner base. So when I say Target, I mean Target. That is a good company and they have a core value of working with small businesses. So keep in mind that if I ever use the word owner, that's what I'm talking about, that this is not just about replying or responding to public RFPs, but there could be other opportunities for you. Oh my gosh. Fosia, aren't you in Rochester?
No, Minneapolis.
Oh, there's somebody that came to one of our class from Rochester. Maybe that's Isha. Anyway, Mayo Clinic is a perfect example. The Mayo Clinic does tons of work and they're constantly looking for people to help them as a sub-consultant or as a consultant. So keep that in mind when I talk about the owner. So an RFP is different than an RFI or an RFQ that's on the next slide. An RFP is looking for a proposal to do specific work, okay? So when you say the one thing, IMO does a great job, but they kept saying, when you prepare your RFP, that's not right. People, we on this side don't prepare an RFP. We respond to an RFP with a proposal. Okay, so companies respond to an RFP by preparing a proposal to do the work in a specific way. And this ties into our other classes of creating a capability statement, creating a portfolio, having social media, etc. Because when you propose to do the work, when you create the proposal, you're selling yourself. You're convincing the owner that my company is the company that should be selected. All right, so again, what's the, oh, Eric's got a chat. I should be, am I not sharing?
No, I'm not seeing.
Oh, sorry about that. Are you seeing them now? Yeah, okay. Sorry about that, I was in the PDF version. All right, so here's the slide that I was just talking about. Thanks, that's exactly the job Eric is supposed to be doing. And then, and then we're going to talk next just briefly about the different alphabets here. So we have RFP, request for proposal, RFQ, request for qualifications, and an RFI, request for information. There's also an IFB, information from bidders. Anybody else throw out some alphabets that they've seen out there, or acronyms, I should say. So an RFP, when you see the P there, you can pretend in your mind that that stands for project, because an RFP is for a specific task. Okay, now it may not be a project, granted, it could be a specific duty or a specific deliverable, but it's a specific. An RFI or an RFQ can be used by an owner to start bringing together ideas. So let's say Mayo Clinic knows that they, in general, are going to need cleaning services. They could send out an RFQ and encourage anybody who's qualified to reply. Okay, same thing with MnDOT. MnDOT could do the same thing. So that's an RFQ. It doesn't have a specific project, but what you're doing then is you're saying, this is my company, this is why I'm qualified to do this work. An RFI can sometimes be used by an agency or an owner to get ideas about what to do. So here's a problem, and then they're going to ask requests for information. Like, what do you think? What are some ideas? What is some information that you might bring to the table that we could use to structure a project? So that's basically the difference. Does anybody have any questions? Have you ever heard these letters before and wondered what they meant? Quick call response. Thank you. All right. So Jasmine has a question. What about a quick call? That's the same as an RFP, except it's a little bit, I love when I see quick calls. You know why? As we get further on, you're going to see what's required in an RFP. And a quick call is a simple, fill out the form and send it back to MnDOT. And Tracy, Adrian, Matt, if you guys have insight here, you can let me know. But my perception, and even watching, my perception is quick call is when MnDOT has some money or a need and they need to speed it up. Is that true, Tracy? Is that why we use the word quick call?
It is overall a
just answer me
faster
that one.
turnaround
I think
time on the
Adrian's talking.
process.
I can't hear Adrian.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, talk again, Adrian. Go
Okay,
ahead.
yeah. No, so the quick call, it's just a shorter kind of contracting process. And like you said, it's a little bit simplified versus the standard RFP. So it does, the whole thing does move a little bit quicker than the formal RFP, but RFP is required for projects over $100,000.
Oh,
At MnDOT anyway.
yeah.
That could change that.
Okay, well, that's really helpful. Thanks. I know that as a responder, I like a quick call because again, we're a little premature here, but there's two ways to respond to an RFP. or there's two ways to respond to a need for work on a project. I'm not going to use the word RFP. With an RFP, the consultant or the professional technical company is going to create or prepare a proposal, a package in written form that goes to the client or the owner. And it's very subjective. I mean, there are criteria in it that the respondent has to meet, but it can be all over the place. It could be just plain old black text on white paper. It can be fancy. It can be, you know, all kinds of links to other media. A quick call is required to be submitted in tabular form, and you use the actual form that the owner puts in the notification. So it's still a request for a proposal, but it's a request for a very much easier to put together proposal. Does that make sense? So they're really the same thing. Just much, you know, lower criteria in terms of preparation, and also for projects that aren't quite as high value. All right, I'm going to keep going. So where do we find them? Let's talk about that. So we're going to back up really far to those of you who might be brand new and you're like, I don't even know how to find these RFPs. It can be nebulous, meaning it can be complicated. And every owner agency has different places that they might put these, okay? Now, I know this isn't a Met Council class, but I think Met Council does a great job. I know this is a MnDOT class, but Met Council does a great job. Sorry if I misspoke. Being proactive about contractor opportunities. So here's an example of an email that I get every week from Met Council. Does MnDOT do this too? Yeah, I don't think MnDOT does, but I love it. So Tracy used to work at Met Council, and I have a feeling this was one of her ideas. But every week you can sign up to be to get notified. I just copied this right from the website. But we get a weekly request for, or a weekly announcement of these Met Council contracting opportunities. Now, this is great because as a busy business owner, I might forget to go check the other stuff, which we'll talk about in a minute. Met Council also has a special program called MCUB, which is specifically targeted at work for small businesses. So hats off to Met Council, to Tracy and her former job. I love this because I'm able to get these contracting opportunities periodically on a scheduled basis, and I don't have to do anything other than just open my email. There's a couple other agencies that I'm signed up to receive these from. So this is something that you might want to follow up with me later. Adrian, do you have something you want to add?
Oh, I was just gonna say there's two different state gov delivery subscriptions like this that you can go to. One is
Okay.
the PT Consultant Services Notice. They send those out weekly, the posted RFPs. And then there's another one that's actually through the Department of Administration. It's called the Weekly Opportunities Report. And those often have projects that are a little bit more small business focused. So I'm going to see if I can look for the links and drop those in the chat for you.
Okay, Adrian, thank you. Hello, I've been in business 30 years and I didn't even know about that. So that's why Jennifer is probably rolling her eyes. That's why this is really good for us to share ideas. Now, if Adrian can't find those links before 9:30, don't worry, we will find them and we'll send them out to you. Okay, also, if you open up this workbook and you're just looking through the slides, you should be able to, these links should be maintained. So if you click on here, for example, you should be able to hit right onto the agency website. First one I want to show is just MnDOT doing business. So the agency websites are such that if I click on this, that should go there. Hello. Doesn't look like it's going. I think I have to hit escape. So we're going to do this. And we're going to share. So for example, MnDOT has a great website. You just can Google doing business with MnDOT. This is true. I know we've been looking for work in Wisconsin and Iowa, same thing, but I have to say MnDOT does it best. So MnDOT has a great website where businesses can find all kinds of projects that are coming up. And the way we do that is by going to consultant services. Now, remember, this class is really focused on, okay, that should be going. Oh, here it is. This class is really focused on professional technical firms. So Fascia, I know you also do trucking and you do construction work. You would be more interested in some of the information for bidders, but this still is very helpful. All right, so we're now on the PT Consultant Services site, and you can see here the PT professional technical notices is where we're going to click to find RFPs. Now, while I'm here, though, we're going to come down to here later when we talk about how to figure out what projects are coming. Actually, I'm just going to do this right now. So here's the PT Consultant Services website. If you're on the main page and you go down here, this is a list of all the projects that are in the works. Now, keep in mind, some of these are design build, some of them are the kind of work that Eric and I would do and Jennifer. But if you click on that, you'll see that there's this potential projects list. And Eric, am I sharing an Excel spreadsheet right now? Yes. So this allows you to, I'm thinking that Allison, this might be helpful for you, but this allows you to see all the different types of work that is coming down the pipe from MnDOT for different districts, along with the contact person. So, PE Services, we have been tracking for a long time projects like the Gold Line BRT and some other projects. And so knowing that projects are coming is really helpful. Not required, but that is one best practice that I can share with you in terms of kind of keeping up to date on things. So I'm going to click on this. These are some of the just I call it boilerplate, because in the olden days, we actually did have plates that we would copy. So these are just some of the forms that you might be looking for. There's some other things here that are helpful, and I would encourage you to look through here as you're, just kind of learning how to respond to MnDOT. So I inadvertently clicked on the PT notices page. And so now you can go down here and you can see the RFPs, the requests for proposals that are open to all consultants. Now, it's important to note that MnDOT has some projects that are reserved for consultants that have been what's called pre-qualified. And the pre-qualification is a separate process that allows MnDOT to contract with a firm that has already shown their qualifications and their capabilities, and allows MnDOT to do what's called a direct select. Now, that's not part of this class, and that's certainly something that you have to work up to. So we're going to talk about that one-on-one, or, I'm sure if you call Adrian, Tracy, or Matt, they can talk to you about that too. But the ones we're looking at here are the notice to all consultants. So here's what I thought would be fun today. So I was just committing to myself, I'm not going to look at this until the day before. I wanted to have a little prep. And I'm going to look through here and say, well, what's a project that I could look at? And I'll just kind of walk you through what we're looking for, what happens. So we see down here that this is just pre-qualified. So these are the RFPs. See, if you just click on here. And surprise, surprise, there's actually an RFP here that might fit my personal qualifications. Now, I don't know, and that's part of this class, is how do you know if this is something that is going to be worth your time? So this is the one that I sent to you guys. So I clicked on the RFP, and everybody should have a copy of this. So either hard copy or electronically. I'm going to use this as our example and to highlight the kind of process that I go through, or we go through, when we decide if this is going to be something that's worth our effort to reply to. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the presentation. City of Minneapolis, so we're going to park that over there. City of Minneapolis also has a website. So hats off to the city. Watching, does Hennepin County, they must, don't they?
Yep, we have a portal called the supplier portal
Oh, yeah.
that businesses and vendors can register in to find out about more opportunities.
There's almost so much happening. And I know some of you guys probably don't even want to work in Hennepin County. Maybe you're outstate or you have some other areas. So that you're interested in. So that's what we can help you with. You know, again, if you're just looking for some assistance, we can sit with you on a Zoom call and just go out there and find the places that you want to work. So you can see this is City of Minneapolis. So these are their funding or their RFPs that they've listed. Oh, that's not on the screen. Ugh. You know, sometimes I'm glad to have Eric here. So I linked through the City of Minneapolis and this is their page. All right, enough said. So Eric, now I'm going to go back to the presentation. You should see it. Another place to find, you seeing it? Yes. Another place to find work is in the Minnesota State Register. This is something that I always get so mad at myself because I miss things that are listed here. Oh, you don't see that either? All right. We miss things that are listed here. I just click through. This is the state register. It is a document that the state publishes every week. And you can go back and see all of the old ones. You can subscribe to this to get it to send to you. Okay, looks like Adrian put those links in there. So thanks. Oh, Jasmine noted that she uses something called Demand Star for Ramsey County. So I'm going to write that down. We'll send out a resource sheet after this, maybe that will list some of these resources and direct links. Okay, so Eric, can you record all that stuff that Adrian has put in the chat? All right, here's the state register. I just want to show you an example. So here's this week's state register. Hopefully it's showing up on the screen. And you can see here at the see over on the left where I'm on the table of contents. If we go to state contracts, this is where the Department of Administration and other state agencies will list their requests for proposals. Okay. So again, we know that we have a pretty diverse group here, and this might be a place where you find, you know, the perfect job for you. So again, these are published, the state register is published once a week, but you can go back a few weeks if you find yourself a little bit behind. All right, so for example, this also shows you what the DVE goal is. So this is a good place to spend some time. Your next question might be, well, how am I supposed to monitor all of this? And that is a good question. Again, if you can be reactive and subscribe to a list, that's something that will land on your desk without you having to go hunt for it. But you may have to just, you know, block off some time every week to go to all the various places. You also, as you get bigger, you might find that this is something you can offload, maybe to a student or a part-time worker or something. The challenge with offloading it for a new company is, you know, to Fosia's point, she's looking for new things and you may not know that you are actually capable until you see an RFP, right? So Fosia knows her own skills and her own interests. And if she's looking through the RFPs, she may come to one that says, hey, this is perfect for me. Whereas a student worker or, you know, maybe, you know, a part-time person would not know that. So this requires a little bit of investment in your time to really go out there and find the work. But I always think of it like, I kind of get that rush when I find an RFP that meets my skills, because like, ooh, something new to go for. So anybody have questions on where to find RFPs? Or any best practices? All right, well, we're going to keep going then. So it is also important to be ready before an RFP is published, especially for a big project.
I actually do have a question.
Go ahead, Jasmine.
I know that someone mentioned that they were WBE certified, and you mentioned, I think it's called pre-select. But I do know that with some of the certifications that the RFP process or dollar amount can be different if you're automatically certified by the state. Could you speak to that? Or is that coming up later?
No, it's not coming up later, and I will try, maybe Tracy, do you want to speak to it, or do you want me to take them? All right, so there are, and Adrian, jump in here, there are requirements that for a certain level of project, it has to be open competition for everybody to reply, right? So we don't have cronyism or special privilege given to one person for these big, huge contracts. You can imagine what kind of problem that might happen.
A fair and equal process.
Yes.
And no advantage.
Right. Everybody has to have a fair process. So that's a great guiding principle. Again, I don't work at MnDOT, so this is my perception. It's a wonderful guiding principle. However, there are some projects that are small and the open to everybody process might be cumbersome and slow down the selection. So MnDOT has the power to pre-qualify, to say, okay, if we're going to have, we're pre-qualified to do construction inspection. So let's say we have a culvert fail, like what happened in the city of Minneapolis. We have a big pothole and we got to get in there really quick and fix it. There's still inspection requirements, but MnDOT may not have the staff ready to go do that. So they can call or they can contract with one of the companies that's pre-qualified by executing a work order or a different type of contract. But that would definitely not be a big project. I mean, even when the 35W bridge fell down, that's a huge project. It was an immediate thing, but it was of a value high enough that there was no like pre-qual for that. It had to go through the regular process. Anybody else want to add anything about pre-qualification? It is a hard thing to do, but we got help from MnDOT by Brad Hamilton, who was there at the time, just a wonderful asset. And I'm sure MnDOT still has people there of the same caliber, and they will help you through that process.
I have a question.
Okay, so Fosia and then Lori added something, but let's listen to Fosia's question first.
For the pre-qualification process, is that something that you suggest for people who are going for those bigger contracts, or is it something that you suggest for anyone to go through that process?
So there's a list of categories that allow for pre-qualification. Eric, if you want, you could put that in the chat, the pre-qualification link. Fosia, I will tell you that part of the criteria is showing a historical record of the work you've done for the last, I want to say 3 years. Is it 3 years or 5 years? There's some cap on it. It's been a long time for me. So it's not something that would be frankly available for a brand new company. You have to build up a little bit of a resume because MnDOT will judge you based on, or I shouldn't say judge, but they will rank you based on your experience. But Eric, did you put in the? I think it's already there. Oh, somebody put it in. Oh, Lori already put it in. Thank you. So Lori Ryan put it in.
Jennifer, she mentioned a bid match process through GoodHeps.
Jennifer did?
Yeah, and I didn't want to interrupt Ann. I'll just share with you what I was
I don't
mentioning.
see it in the chat. Yeah, go ahead, Jennifer. What would you like to add?
So Apex Accelerator, which is formerly PTAC at the state of Minnesota, has a bid match service that people can sign up for. And so if you go on, I'll put the website in the chat. If you go on to the Department of Administration's Apex Accelerator website, you will find where they have counselors or assistants to help match your services to open RFPs. And so they will walk through what services you're most interested in. And then they set up an automated notification that you get daily, 7 days a week, that says, here are the open RFPs that match your service offerings. And it's free. So it's a good way to know that things are out there. Now, some of the opportunities are duplicates. So if you're already watching the consultant corner that Ann brought up, or the Hennepin County website that was brought up earlier, or the city of Minneapolis website, you will find that there are duplications in that, and that's okay. But it helps to kind of have a safety net so that you don't forget something or miss something unintentionally.
Oh, that's great feedback. Thanks, Jennifer. I appreciate that. Yeah, I have to say, as somebody who's experienced in looking for work and keeping people busy and growing a business, it's nice to have things sent to you automatically because frankly, just talking and getting feedback in this group, there's a lot of places. And knowing where to go to get the type of work is a challenge for somebody who's also trying to do the work and build a business. So thank you, I appreciate that. Another place to, I guess this slide really just speaks to the importance of building a network and maintaining a professional awareness of what's happening. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard, especially if you're just in the early stages of your company. I mentioned the potential project list at MnDOT, but really other places that you hear about work that's coming is just at conferences and meetings. You know, if you belong to professional organizations, they often have updates. We're going to have one on May 22nd when we do our networking fair. We're going to have MnDOT talk about projects that are in the works. So there's a lot of benefit to attending those, reading newsletters, going to events that are sponsored by owners such as MnDOT or Med Council, Hennepin County, really important. And it's all about relationship building. So letting other people know what you're looking for is also helpful because, you know, if I know, you know, Allison, you're a perfect example. So if I know Allison is trying to build her civil company and I've already done that before, I would love to help her do that. So the relationship that we build may help her actually know of work coming down the pipe or work that's been published and she didn't see. All right, so now we're actually about 10 minutes behind. So I'm going to skip up a little bit here. So the first important thing that I really want you to note, and IMO talked about this in their class last week, is reading the RFP requirements. So I sent you guys an RFP. If this was me, and I won't do it now because it'll take too long, but I'm going to sit down, I print it out on paper, and I'm going to go through and highlight, and I have my red pen ready, and I'm going to really note all of the things that are important in the RFP. The RFP will contain very specific requirements about how to prepare the proposal, what they're looking for it. So the first step after you find an RFP is to, I like to print it out, but you need to get it on your screen or on your paper and you need to read it through very carefully. I personally have responded to RFPs by getting all the stuff together for a proposal and get down, you know, nobody really has, well, I don't have time for this a lot of times. So, you know, I'm rushing to get it done. Maybe I got to the very end and I'm getting close to submitting and I realize that I don't meet the criteria for one thing, you know, then I have to really scramble, or I've misunderstood the schedule. Don't get into that rush mode until you really know what's required. Okay, so read the RFP carefully and make a plan. If you read it and you see that there's a certain skill required that you maybe don't have, that's part of the plan, is to find somebody that'll fit that niche. All right, so read the RFP first. So what are we going to be looking for? So here's the RFP that I sent you. And the reason that this one stood out to me is I personally have done work before with clear roads. And so I'm going to take some time today and I'm going to really look through this. Okay, so the things that we're looking for are, what is the project? Okay, so this is a clear roads project, but it's really not doing anything. That Clear Roads is a consortium of DOTs that fund research and education around snow and ice control and winter road maintenance. This is not training. This is, you can see it right here. This is management. So now I got to look at it and think, well, what is this actual project? I want to look at, when is the proposal due? Am I tardy to the party? Is it due next week? Do I have time? You know, all of those things are important. What's the required format? Oh, I love it when an owner agency sends out a form to fill in. We talked about quick call before. Those are glorious to me because then I don't have to be creative. I'm an engineer. I'm not very creative at proposals anyway. And so knowing what's expected is really important. Sometimes a RFP will specifically list the number of pages, that it's, you know, 10 pages of 11-point font and nothing else. Frank, I hate to admit this in front of Jennifer, but frankly, I submitted a proposal within the last few years and it was too long by 1 page. But I thought the schedule didn't count. Turns out it did count. So I had 11 pages. I was held to 10. And it was the schedule that kicked me out of the pool. Well, I could have just left the schedule off and sent that in later. So shame on me for not understanding the very strict rules.
You're not the only one.
Oh,
We have thrown out proposals because of the same things.
Yeah, Tracy just affirmed that they've thrown out proposals because of the same thing. I recently did a proposal. Luckily, nobody replied except for me, so we ended up getting a second chance. But at the very end, I noticed that something had to be notarized. So I had to run. I'm actually a notary. I could have notarized it myself, but I thought that would be a little fishy. So I ran to the bank, had it notarized, but by this time I submitted it, it was 2:01. And again, if the proposal is due at 2 o'clock, it's due at 2 o'clock. I mean, Jennifer, you and I both know of examples where big firms have missed projects because they got stuck in traffic or whatever. We used to submit these in hard format, and now we're lucky enough to be able to email them. But when you email, it's time-stamped. There is no way to get around that. I can see Jennifer's like giving me the thumbs up. It's really frustrating because proposals take a lot of work. And if you are disqualified because you haven't read or understood the required format, that can be it's really a shame. And it's a lost effort. The project timeline is also important. So if we go back to here, you can see down here on the project overview that they are looking for somebody who can work for them from July 2023 through 2025. Well, and they're going to maybe offer an expansion of up to 3 years. So this tells me 2 things. Number one, it tells me when this owner is looking for help. And now I have to consider, do I have the capacity? Because I'd be the one doing this work. Do I have time to work from 2023 of July for the next 2 to 5 years? And I have to consider yes or no. But here's the other thing that it tells me. It tells me if this is worth the effort. This is for 2 to 5 years worth of work. Yeah, if I'm looking for something and this is going to be a very in-depth proposal that I need to put together, it's probably going to be more worth my time because it's for up to 5 years. That's a lot. So look at what the scope is. The word is going to be scope. Look at what the scope is, and that will help you decide. All right, this is then the second thing you're going to think about. Do I have the skills and the capability and the capacity? Can I do the work? The blessing of getting a project can also be a curse, because if you commit to something, but yet you don't have the workforce or the time, you are under contract. That's serious. And as we've talked about this before in earlier classes, your professional reputation is built on every project that you successfully deliver. So you want to be successful with delivery if you are successful at getting a proposal selected. You need to think about, are you a good fit? Do you want to go it alone, or should you team with somebody else? What level of effort is involved in putting the proposal together? How likely is it that you will get the work? And after thinking through all those things, think about, should I pass or should I do it? Once you commit to a proposal, you will find that it's a lot of work to put a proposal together. And, considering all of these things before you decide to jump in is really important. All right, so responding to an RFP means you're going to spend time writing the proposal. Now, one of the criteria for being selected is how responsive you are. So if you see that word, we're going to judge your responsiveness. That means that you've taken time to meet all the requirements, okay? So it has to be complete, it has to be responsive, and it has to be submitted on time. Looks like Eric has something to add.
Oh, just Lori mentioned that responding to the solicitation, make sure you have received the email confirmation. So
When you submit it, you mean? Oh, yeah, that's important. Yeah, MnDOT is really good about this. If you submit a proposal, you should get a reply from the project manager that says received. Hennepin County is good at that too. So thanks for that. Now, I just copied and pasted this from a resource that I had about how to decide to respond to an RFP. And I think it has some good points here. So this is not my information, which is why I wanted to just copy it. You really need to think about where does this project fit in with your goals and with what you want to do as a company. I recently spoke at a class at the university and they asked me to share information about my worst project. And I will tell you what it was. It was preparing a calendar for a Minnesota Road Research Program. And it was way long time ago. And I am not a calendar writer. I don't know why I agreed to do this project. It was the worst project I ever did. I was putting together a calendar that had all kinds of fun facts about transportation and pavement research. And here's the kicker. I was terrible at it, so I got it done in March. So everybody knows how much calendars cost in March, right? They're half price or they're like giving them away for free. They're not valuable. So here I took on a project that was not within my strengths. It was not something that was ever going to lead to more work. It took a ton of time and I was terrible at it. I wish I would have thought about that and decided no. So remember, time is money, but so is money. What I mean by that is money too. You know, you really have to think about what is this RFP looking for and am I somebody who can do it? You want to think about if you're qualified, okay? What is the client's problem and can you fix it? Okay, so I'm looking at Tracy right here. She's my client. And if I respond to do work, I want her to think, oh, if I choose Anne, my life is easy because I worked with her before. I know she's going to take the project and she's going to run with it. And this problem I have, which is not really a problem, but I have to execute this program. If I know that I pick the right person, my life is easier, right? So that's what I think of when I respond to an RFP. How can I make the life of the person looking for help? How do I make their life easier? What is the need they're looking for? Then I look at my own self and I say, can I meet this need alone or do I need to partner with someone? And then lastly, we want to bring up this issue of what does it mean to go exclusive? Now, as you build your business, you may find that there's certain partners you like working with all the time. An example for us is Braun Intertech. We work for Braun. You know, I used to work at Braun. They were our first client. We built a great relationship with Braun and they did a lot of good for us. They're a great partner. When Braun proposes on a project that has a DBE goal, it would be great for them to ask me or ask PE Services not to be on any other teams because we know we're a quality firm that does this kind of work. And if Braun can show that they have us as a partner, that might put them up and over in terms of selection. But really, we don't ever do that. Now, this is our decision to not go exclusive because we know that the intent of the DBE and the small business program is to increase the exposure of small businesses to projects, to get more of us out there on projects and to help us grow our business. For me to go exclusive with, let's say, Braun Intertech means that I'm putting all my eggs in one basket. I much prefer to do what we typically do, which is to be on every team. When we're on every team, that for sure is a good thing for us because we're going to get selected no matter what. So this is an issue with disadvantaged business firms and small businesses, targeted group business. You may be asked to go exclusive. You get to decide if that's right for you. I've decided, and now I think Jennifer also, that that is not what we want to do. And so frankly, we just say, we're not allowed to go exclusive, or that's not part of the goals of the small business program. And that's something that's really helped us with our business. Getting on every team, that's like fantastic because you know you're a shoo-in. Eric, I see something in the chat. Can you check that?
Are you on multiple teams for the same RFP?
Yes, we can be on. So the question is, are you on multiple teams for the same RFP? And I will say, yes, that happens all the time for us. And for you as small businesses, you may find that as well. We have to, well, remember the slide I had before that says build relationships? We rely on our relationships with all of our partners. So they trust us that if I'm actually, I have an interview tomorrow with, I have 2 interviews tomorrow for one project, one with WSB, one for SRF. And SRF and WSB have to trust me not to share information from WSB with SRF, information from SRF with WSB. Now, I've proven that I do that. So we have the trust and I'm capable of doing that. Sometimes Met Council, for example, will require you to put up what's called a wall. I can't think of what it's called. Anyway, you have to agree that the same people will not work on this, on 2 proposals. I can't think of what they call it, but anyway, some proposals will require a certain lockdown, but typically speaking, we've never had that, and they just trust me to be on good behavior and not share secrets. Eric.
Can you speak to best practices for building relationships with client base?
Sure. So Jasmine, the way that I have built relationships is, well, I'm pretty good at building relationships, but I speak it out loud. I think that's one thing. So I build a relationship just by getting to know people. I'm very active in the industry in terms of, you know, going to classes or professional development or professional organizations. But Jasmine, what I just said before is something that I think helps. So I will say, actually, I just said it when we were preparing for this interview. I said out loud to Mike Reef at WSB, I said, you know, I'm interviewing with SRF. You can trust me not to share any of this info. And he goes, oh, I know. But I always feel like I need to speak it out loud because that just helps build the relationship and it also helps build the trust. So it says out loud, what you're expecting of me is what I'm expecting of me. You can't build relationships quickly. So we've been in business a long time. I continue to build relationships and my word is my bond. You know, if I say that I'm going to not go exclusive, I better not go exclusive with anybody else either, right? So I know that's maybe a little flip answer, but Jasmine, I'd love to meet with you again and we can talk more.
I think identifying who your partners are first is a key piece too.
Yeah, so Tracy said, identifying who your partners are first is key. We had this slide up here. If you go inverse on this, you know, who is it that can help me further my goals? Who do I want to work with? What kind of work do I want to build relationships in order to get? So Tracy, you're exactly right. Thinking about who you work with and who your partners are, that is a great first step. Eric, you said you had something?
Yeah, one way that we built our business was when we had the opportunity to partner is we did as quality work as possible. So one thing you need to make sure is you're not spreading yourself too thin. You're not, you know, ignoring some of the responsibilities for want of a whole lot of projects to work on. So take advantage of that opportunity, especially with larger partners, because they will come back to you if you deliver quality work. And that I think is the best way to build relationships with prime vendors is you become someone they rely on. So now you're an asset instead of a liability, especially as small businesses, because there's been sort of a traditional element of, oh, we have to put so many dollars towards small business. If they know they get value out of that, they'll knock on your door every single time.
That's good feedback. Jennifer, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, and do you want to speak a little bit about nicely telling a partner, yeah, I'm not interested in really working with you, and kind of how you navigate that process? Because I think, you know, the opportunity is great. Everybody's excited about winning an opportunity, but what if you're approached as a small business and you know that the risk of working with them is too high to make that commitment, or for whatever reason you decide not to?
That's great feedback. Thank you, Jennifer. You know, we didn't really take a lot of time for each one of you to introduce yourself. So I don't know if you have 1 employee or 10, but a lot of times when you're, oftentimes when you're building your business, you have these kinds of decisions to make. And it can be really impactful. You know, I still think back on that calendar project and I just get the shivers like, oh, that was the worst thing ever. but you know what, I did it. It was a horrible project. I've had horrible partners, and you learn and move on. So good feedback, Jennifer. All right, so again, we got to kind of speed it up here, but once you decide to respond to an RFP, this is where we can really tie back to some of the classes that we've offered before. What you're going to be doing now is gathering the evidence or making the case for why this owner should select me or my firm. Okay, so why should they select me? What problem can I solve? How do I make their life easier? Be objective. What numbers do you have? And we're going to use photos. Now, if you look at you don't need to slide back here, but if you look at the very first page of the workbook, under this item, are you qualified? I put some examples of what kind of numbers you might use to showcase your work. So I'm just going to read these off. So as an example, I can say PE Services has completed, 49 projects under budget. Or if we're trying to get work with Met Council doing engineers estimate, I can say we have completed 38 engineers estimate, 98% of which were within 10% of bids received. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm adding data. We can say the project completed, we were the chief inspectors, we had 2 change orders through the entire project. Or we can say that for this class, we started at 2 students and every week we added students. So what we're trying to do is put numbers on our performance that do more than just say we have worked on these kinds of projects. By the time you get to be a reputable company, we work on projects, SRF works on project, WSB works on project, HDPO. We have to really set ourselves apart with data, with photos, or with finding a niche or a niche of what we can do to make the client's job easier, okay? Here's another example. PE Services has a very diverse workforce. That was always one of my core values and something that we really demonstrated. But you know how we demonstrate it? By showing pictures of our staff, but more importantly, sending people to our website. I always kind of joke, if you have limited diversity, that poor person like me as a woman, I'm in every single picture for when I worked at Braun Intertech, because they want to show that they have, gender diversity. Well, at PE Services, we really do have diversity. And if you go to our website, you're going to see all of our staff. That is proof positive of who we say we are. Okay. Also, using photos of the work we do really is interesting, and people do make a lot of judgment with what they can see. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is put together the evidence to make my clients see why I am qualified to do the work. Everybody is going to submit text talking about what they've done, but what we're really trying to look at is the proof and the narrative of how I can solve your problems. All right, so we're really running behind here. I'm not going to go through this example exactly, but I am going to go through here and highlight, not right now, so don't get nervous, but I am going to go through and highlight what exactly are they looking for. I might make some phone calls. Why is Clear Roads looking for a project manager? Don't they have a project manager? And I'm going to call the person in charge at MnDOT and say, can you give me any info here? Now that brings up another issue. All of the owner agencies are very careful about what communication they might give back to you about an RFP. So I just said, I'm going to call the project manager. He may say to me, I'm sorry, Ann, I can't talk to you. We are in the RFP mode. You're going to have to only respond with questions, and those criteria for the questions is going to be listed in the RFP. So that's why it's important to know about the project ahead of time. So if I was working with Clear Roads, I might be in the loop to find out that they're going to be looking for a project manager before they advertise for that they're looking for them through the RFP process. I can say to my MnDOT friend, why are they looking for a project manager? And he's not under the same kind of closed lip requirements. Okay, so that's really important. All right, so I'm going to go through here. I'm going to try to figure out what they're looking for. The RFP is here. You don't have to open this right now. We're gonna spend the next few minutes just finishing up with the rest of the slides. What I want to look at as I go through here is what's the project, when is it due, what's the format, and what's the timeline. I also, at this point, am going to ask those other questions that I talked about earlier. Do I have the skills? Am I a good fit? You know, who at PE Services is able to do this work? What level of effort is involved? What forms are required? I put that in because I shared the story that I forgot to get something notarized once and it made me a minute late. Make sure you get all of those forms, print them out, have them out, so you know what you're going to be committing to. How likely is it that I'll get the work? Frankly, this one is pretty likely because I've done work for them before, and then I'm going to make a go or no go decision. All right, so we can see here, here's the project specific information. I'm going to read the RFP through and I'm going to make a list of questions. Now, if you look at that RFP, you'll see, actually we can link into it. You'll see that there is specific information on when questions are due. So Eric, I should be sharing the RFP right now. Yes? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So just briefly, this is, again, we're not going to go through this, but this is what's included in the RFP. So there's a goal. Then, oh my gosh, look at all these specific work and deliverables. Now, typically in an RFP, there will be a list of deliverables. And I always feel a little funny just copying the words from the RFP, but frankly, that's what they're looking for. So how will I meet these deliverables? So this person will serve as the primary contact. I will host, maintain, and post notices. Well, then in the proposal, I'm going to say that I will serve as the primary contact. This is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to maintain and post notices. This is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to work with MnDOT to track commitments. I'm going to do all these things. So don't feel funny about just copying it and then dropping it into the text of your proposal. Tracy, do you agree, or does that look funny?
No, well, there's a couple things. So
Okay, so Tracy, unmute yourself. We want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, can everybody hear me? So there's a couple things yes, we want to, whatever's in the RFP, it needs to be in your proposals. We want to make sure that you're understanding what the proposal is and what the requirements are, but be careful. It's not an exact copy paste.
Okay.
We want to hear exactly how you're going to meet that deliverable. So yes, make sure it's in there, but not just copy paste, put your twist on it, right? And how you're actually going to do it. That's what I would see, because I've seen it where they've been docked before for doing that copy paste only. So make sure you're putting your, I'm saying twist, but your information in it.
Yeah, actually, I like that word, and it affirms what I always think.
Mhm.
When you mute yourself, because they are looking for that information, but I also need to show that I'm not just going to check. I am going to actually work to meet their needs, and this is how I'm going to do it. So I think that's helpful. You just really can't get around saying what you're going to do and making sure that it matches what they want you to do. But again, as Tracy said, you got to find your little, put your flair in there. Again, this just talks about all the tasks. This is a pretty big RFP. Here they're telling me what desired skills they have. Have you ever gone to a job fair and they say, look at the job posting and then make sure those words are in your resume? And this is kind of the same thing. So I look at the desired skills, and then I make sure that when I talk about why I or PE Services should do this work, I'm going to copy some of these words in. And I'm not going to copy them just word for word, but I'm going to make sure that I demonstrate all the websites that we have designed, all of the work that we have done around research and what we've done to successfully implement different projects for like government agencies. All right. Then they often will ask you to propose some additional tasks. I like to challenge myself to do this because it shows that I'm thinking outside the box. And so I encourage you to do that as well. Really think, be creative. If you are qualified to do this work, you should be able to come up with a couple extra things. Now, proposing additional tasks means that this is outside the original scope. So if you do get selected, then this would be something you would negotiate. All right, so now I can see that Ashley Duran is the one that's going to be taking questions. There's a time limit. I can only send in questions by April 25th. And then that same PT Notices website is where MnDOT is going to post the answer to those questions. So that's a benefit. If I can't think of any questions, I should still go back there and check that, because all of my competitors are also going to be thinking about questions, and they may put one in there that I haven't even thought about. So I always look at the responses to the questions. Sometimes there aren't any, but sometimes there are. So then this is the content, and the template that I'm going to send you, Jennifer, I see you raised your hand. I'll get you in a second. So the template that we're going to send you will mimic this. Okay. And that's exactly what I do a lot. I put it in exactly the same form. So contact information, then I write up what I understand about the project. Then I put in who's going to be working on the project and what their experience is. And then I also put together a work plan. The work plan is where we're going to be mimicking what those deliverables are. Jennifer, you have something you want to add?
Yeah, and can you tell to the group a little bit about asking questions, and more than the actual process, but the strategy behind sometimes you don't want to ask the question because then you alert your entire competition as to what that issue might include or not, and kind of the thought process behind when you should submit questions or how that process works.
That's a great point. Yeah, you have to be a little careful. You don't want to show your hand too much by saying things like, oh, would you consider this? Or would you, how open are you to, XYZ? So Jennifer, that is a great bit of insight. Questions have to be submitted electronically in written form. Ashley will take all of these questions and the project manager will answer them. You have to have them on time. Again, you may want to be strategic and hold back some questions. Jennifer, maybe you can add here it's so subjective as to what would be a revealing question that I'm not thinking of it right now, but maybe you can think of an example.
Sure. So I would say to the group, for example, if you are partnering with a prime contractor, in my opinion, we would never ask questions in that position. We would give our questions or thoughts to that prime partner, and we would ask them to, make a determination whether or not they want to ask the question. If we were the prime on a project, we would think about the questions we're asking and whether or not alerting either our competitors to that particular question would be an issue, or if alerting the owners to the issue in the beginning is a good thing, or if it may have a challenge that they're not prepared to really address yet, which we would better address after the project's been awarded. So when you think about the question, think about it from a strategy standpoint of, is this helping the overall project, or is it helping to separate us from the rest of the group that might be participating in this response? So even though you have a question, that's okay. Keep track of those. I would be cautious about asking them in an open forum if you, as Ann indicated, are tipping your hand into a strategy or a process that might be a cost savings measure for you to separate yourselves amongst the other folks who are competing for that work.
Yeah, and Jennifer, you actually bring up a good point. So if you're on a team, still create your list of questions, but then get together with the team. And Jennifer, you bring up a good point. If we're a sub, we're not going to jeopardize our relationship with any general, keeping in mind that sometimes we are on every team, sometimes we're not. So if we're on a specific team, we're going to work within that team. And if we can answer a strategic question amongst ourselves, there's no reason for us to, as I said, show our cards and ask that out publicly. So use your team, see if you can figure out the answer to the question. If it's an easy question and something that's harmless, go ahead and ask it, but make sure that you ask it in the time period that you're required to. All right, let's keep going here. I have to admit that I'm guilty. Our printer broke and it only printed up to page 24, so I thought we were almost done, but we've got a lot to cover here. Eric, am I on the presentation? Let me see what I got here. All right, here we go. I got class. We just had somebody walk in. All right, so now we're going to talk about putting the proposal together, which we only have 5 minutes, but don't worry. We're going to sit with you and help you if you need additional help, okay? So there is an activity too that I actually think is a good resource for you to download and keep. Maybe these are just the questions that you're going to ask in the future, but you can transfer it into kind of a standard practice as you think about how do you respond to an RFP. All right, so you guys have this as a workbook activity, and what you're really going to start thinking about is who's on your team, you know, what are the roles, who are you going to be assigning. Let me bring this up so that I don't have to remember it from, so I'm going to bring up activity. What activity is this, Eric? Activity 2? Here you go. All right, so share this. All right, so here's putting it together. And as I said, I sent this to you in Word form, so you may be able to make this into a template, but these are some of the things that I consider when I put together a response for an RFP. I think about who's on the team, not just within the company, but do I need to partner with others outside the company? Who's going to be doing what? And I either create a formal org chart, an organizational chart, or I just scratch it out. But this helps me identify who's my strongest team member, who's, you know, who do I have special qualities and qualifications with that I'm going to highlight as performing a specific task. The IMO class that we just did last week, he talked about having a theme. I like that idea of having a theme, but I think of it more as what's your key message? You know, there's a lot of us out there that do the same work. Why is my team better? Why is my team the team that should be selected to help this client solve their problem? And that might also include a brainstorming session to really think about how do I differentiate my team or my staff, you know, against the others. How will I do that? So then we already talked about copy the tasks and identify steps to complete them. Again, Tracy, I'd like to say that I do exactly that. We copy the task down because we don't want to leave anything out, but we really then think about how can we creatively describe what we're going to do to accomplish that work. So think of it as work, not the task, but you also want to outline that you're doing exactly what they expect. And then lastly, why should they select you? Sometimes you are very limited in the number of pages that you can include in a proposal. Know that ahead of time, as I said before. Sometimes you don't need a full resume, you need a bio. So a bio is just a short summary of what somebody's resume says. So think about the time required for that. If you have to put together a whole resume, or if you just need to summarize what a certain person brings to the project, that's a specifically different level of effort. And it also allows you to really highlight different things. So all of this is really important in planning your time, planning your response, and strategizing for how you can set yourself up to do the work. Last but not least, why should they pick you? I always just lay it out. I put it right on the proposal. Tracy, I think for this proposal, I said, we love teaching and we're good at it. We are. I think we're really good at teaching. We're great at putting together curriculum. We love doing this work. I don't think there's anything wrong with telling a client that you love doing this kind of work. We love inspection, and we care for our inspectors in a way that makes sure that they're prepared and well qualified. Put that in the proposal. I think sometimes we're so afraid to toot our own horn that we might not say the obvious, is that we're here to help you and we really want this job. So in summary, I just put together a few best practices. So again, develop your key message, your theme, whatever it's going to be, but think about how can I help? Why can I solve this problem or this need for you? You know, outline how you are experts or you've proven yourself using objective data, and then show them the evidence. Don't just show a building, show your staff working on the building. Or, you know, I'm working with one of the small business owners that has come to us as part of this project. And I told her, we need some pictures of you on the job site. Don't just show your truck, show you driving the truck, you know. Use photos and graphics, okay? So this is all part of the evidence. An interesting proposal will be more pleasing to read and more interesting to read, easier to get through. You want to make it appealing. And then proofread. I just put together a proposal and I went through, and lo and behold, I did have a previous client's name in there, and make sure you do like a search. Okay, so if you're using boilerplate, you search a generic word or you search your previous client's name or whatever it is, but make sure, IMO said this as well, that you do not submit a proposal with somebody else's names in it. You follow directions and you submit it on time. You know, your proposal is not going to get considered if it doesn't meet the criteria and if it's late. As you build your business, you are going to do more and more of these. So you're going to be able to recycle proposals. You're going to learn from your successful and your not successful proposal activities. And this is just something that you've got to build a foundation of, and you will get better with time. One way that you will really improve your chances is by following up with the selector if you're not selected. Okay, this is all part of public meeting and public information. So if you submit a proposal and you are not selected, you have the right to receive the evaluation notes to see how the raters rated you. And you're also allowed to request a meeting to get some feedback. That is really painful, but it's also really valuable. So it's good to know what your client or what the agency is looking for. It's good to know what you missed, because then you can make sure you don't miss it the next time. All right, so next steps. Oops, sorry, my finger went a little too fast. So the next steps are, please submit your evaluation. I'll send it out after 12 o'clock today, and then we'll send that proposal template to you once you receive it. Reach out to me or Eric if you'd like to schedule a follow-up. Here's our emails. Again, Eric and I have met in person. We've met at coffee shops. We've met out on the grade. We can do a virtual. It's very easy for us to do that. And maybe you just want to have a quick meeting to clarify something I've talked about. We are happy to do that. The next two classes coming up in our small business training are financial management. That'll be on April 27th. And notice the time change. This is the last 8 o'clock meeting we'll have. From here forward, classes will start at 11:30 or 1. And then I just have the link here, so you can go ahead and register for those. We have some really fun upcoming networking events. May 17th and 18th, we're doing events here at PE Services. The first one will be on building your team and finding employees and partners. And then the second one will be on finding subcontractors, or finding, I think the better word here might be partners as well, but really, how do you supplement your skills with other people? And then we're busy planning an event to be held on May 22nd up in St. Cloud at the D3 or District 3 offices. It's going to be a networking event that I think will be really fun and worth your time. That starts at 1 o'clock. And then Tracy, I didn't know if it was premature to talk about the 9th event. Do you want me to just talk about that?
That's kind of a special invite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Receive information on it.
So we also have another one that's in the works that if you are part of the little niche service that we're reaching out to, you will get an email about that. So with that, I want to just summarize again. Our main goal today was not necessarily to teach you this, how to respond to an RFP. That's what IMO did, and they gave you an opportunity to do that. What my goal today was to help you understand the process, to help you understand the evaluation of whether you fit and whether it's worth your time, and then to get you start thinking about ways to pursue and to find out about these opportunities. So definitely a different objective, but I hope I have offered up some ideas for you, and that if you request or require a follow-up, we're happy to sit down and talk some more. Before I end the meeting, is there any other questions or concerns? Okay, I'm going to copy this chat. So we'll save it with all the links. Thank you, Adrian, and everybody who added. Lori, I think you dropped in a few things. I hope we see you at SADBOC tomorrow. Please come up. You know what I look like. I don't know what you look like necessarily, but please come up and introduce yourself. We'd love to start building those relationships and help you grow your business. So Tracy, thanks for being here. All right. And with that, we hope to see you soon.